thyself is to love thyself, is to examine, observe, and respect thyself. It's an ongoing process, never to be explained in a brief synopsis. It's a preoccupation with reflection and revelation that can only be achieved through discipline and determination.
Welcome to the Encouraging Word Show. I'm Jamila, Freelain, your host. And for today, I have a really special guest. Actually, every guest is special. Now, if you've never watched the Encouraging Word Show, let me tell you a little bit about our show in the background. Really, the show stems from a book that I wrote called Free Money for College. And it's filled with tips, strategies, and different resources to help students and parents save money on that college or career preparation plan. Now, when it comes down to college planning, you should always start early, and that's something I try to emphasize all the time. And for my special guest today, his name is Norman McCullough. He's going to tell us about some early programs that he has in relation to college and career preparation, or actually in relation to SAT prep specifically, and mentoring. Now, in terms of the show, we want you to sit back and relax. You'll get inspired, empowered with tips and resources. You're going to learn a little bit about financial literacy as you keep watching different episodes, and then we also want you to leave empowered as well. I want to welcome you, Mr. McCullough, for coming today. Thank you for being here on the Encouraging Word Show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here with you and to talk about my program. I have two parts to the program I'm mentoring. Okay. One is the SAT prep, right, which also it has a mentoring component. Mm-hmm. And this is a program that I do in the summertime. Okay. And so I don't really compete with the school system per se. I try to offer
a compliment, if anything.
Yes, if anything, I try to give the students an opportunity to keep their skills up to par. In the summertime. A lot of studies will show that the students, many of them over the summer, lose their abilities over the summer. So we try to work with them in a 6-Saturday program.
Okay, they call that the summer brain drain.
Yes, we start on July 21st this year. Okay, and so if anybody's interested, they can reach me at normanmccullough1@AOL.com, or my number is 704-787-8242. And that is for this coming summer, where our young people can, at a low cost, I operate a low-cost program. I work out of churches and other non-for-profits so that the cost is not above the head of many people.
Okay, so is that who your focus is then?
The focus is on the low-income community.
Okay, it's important to know that.
But at the same time, I know that many of the families have high achievers, even though they might have a low income, they have high achievers, right? And that is my population that I'm looking at.
Right, because of course income is no reflection of intelligence or academic ability for sure. So you focus on low income students. How many students typically are in your SAT prep classes during the summer? Is it 10? Is it 100? Like how big or how small is it?
Well, as you probably know, many of the schools have a lot of students in one class. 35 I know in some classes. And so I try to restrict mine to about 20. Okay. No more than 25, but 20 is the ideal number that I work with. And then I separate them into groups. Okay.
Is that groups by grade, or how are your groups set
No,
up?
It might be grouped by ability. And what I try to do ideally is put the high ability students with the low ability students.
Okay,
so that the students, and often can learn from other students, not just from me or the other mentors that might be in the program. You see, they can also learn from each other, and sometimes,
absolutely.
Sometimes what an older student is saying may be even more effective than what the docents are saying. So the group mentoring concept is one where people are learning from each other, and in the school system, not to keep rapping the school system, but the fact is that many times it's just a one-way operation, the teacher, the student, and you don't have that interconnection, which is something that could be a benefit for many students, especially if they are slow learners.
Okay, so it sounds like some of the benefits of your SAT prep courses is one is during the summer, so it helps to avoid literally the summer brain drain.
Right.
Two, it's coupled with both SAT prep as well as peer mentoring. So
Right.
you have that student engagement piece that kind of helps to offset the boredom that they would maybe have in a traditional lecture style classroom where they're not as engaged. And then it sounds like it's very affordable as well.
Yes.
Okay. How affordable is it, by the way? I know you mentioned you do cater to low income, but is there a cost associated?
There is a cost.
Okay.
And it's not a profit per se.
Okay.
I
you have to
normally
cover
charge $100. Okay, that's a normal charge. Sometimes people in the church will provide scholarship.
Okay,
And this has
wonderful.
been my experience here in North Carolina. I had the same program in New Jersey.
Right, I
And
remember
it's
that.
the same type of thing. And in my book, that's called The Dream, a manual to facilitate group mentoring, I encourage people to use the same blueprint so that this type of thing can be done in many communities.
So that people can replicate the
They
program
can
that you-
replicate the program. I can always give them technical assistance if they need. And again, it's a matter of trying to assist our community, which needs a lot of it. I was just talking to one of the people here in the room about our history, that we're only 50 or more years out of Jim Crow. And then slavery was
Right.
a part of it, and so forth. So the mentoring in terms of the SAT prep and trying to assist the
Okay.
students. I also impact on the GPA because they learn study skills. I also have an effect as far as scholarship. I have 2 students that are at Norfolk State on full scholarship. They have a medical program
Okay.
there.
And-
So I have a lot that I can talk about
Yeah,
given the
of course.
experience here.
And I do want to pause for a second because you've talked about all these different things that your program offers. But for those that might be wondering your background and what qualifies you to do this, tell us a little bit about your experience because, of course, I know that you're a very strong educator and you're actually a college professor now. But tell those that are listening from the viewing audience who have never met you before, what were some of your qualifications and what brought you to this particular
Well,
juncture?
my primary qualification is that I'm a young man from the community, from the low income community. I know what hard times are, and I was fortunate to go into the military, get a college degree.
Okay.
Uh,
Did the
from-
military pay for it?
Yes,
Okay,
the
wonderful.
GI Bill, the Great Society, all those things that a lot of people put down, I benefited from. So I went to Hunter College in New York, and then I went on to Columbia Teachers College. So I have a graduate degree, and if I had completed 6 more credits, you would be calling me Dr. McCullough. But, you know, these things are as they are. And I am where I am, and I'm trying to make a difference with the tools that I have currently. And of course, working with young people, for many people who are teachers and people who are activists like yourself, it makes a big difference if you can even impact on one child.
Yes,
You know, you don't have
absolutely.
to do 1 million children or 1,000 children.
It'd be nice,
You know,
however.
you want to
take
impact
it.
even on 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever you can do, and this is what it's about.
Right.
And so I'm so happy to be here
So glad
to
to have you.
share this time. We have known each other for about 3 years now,
Absolutely
and we interconnect at different points. It's all very exciting because we're helping each other.
Yes,
And then by helping each other, we can then help the community.
for sure.
And this is what we want to do.
Now,
So-
before we wrap up with this particular segment, because I know you have a lot of other good things
Right,
to share
right,
too, and
right,
with it
right.
being Black History Month,
Right.
I'd be remiss if I didn't let you tell me about the celebration of Warren C. Coleman that we'll talk about in the next half.
Okay.
But before we wrap up again, tell us when and where the camp for this summer is taking place.
Right. Well, as of right now, I'm in Concord, which is about 15 minutes north of Charlotte.
Concord,
North Carolina. I would love to have another location in Charlotte, so please keep that in mind. But I'm starting on or about July 21st, and I go on until August 25th, and it's 6 Saturdays. So it could be, once I do my program in Concord, I could do an afternoon program in Charlotte. That's a possibility.
Okay.
And so there are many things that can be done, and so I can be reached at Norman McCullough, that's McCullough 1 at AOL.com or 704-787-8242.
Okay, and I thank you for that, providing that information, and of course I thank you for what you do. We're going to wrap up this particular segment, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about a really great historic figure in the local North Carolina area.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome back to watching the Encouraging Words Show. I'm your host, Jamila Freelain, and if you didn't get a chance to see the first half, make sure you rewind or go back and search for this first half. Today I have a special guest, Mr. Norman McCullough, and he talked about all the different benefits of his SAT prep class. One other thing, can you tell those who may not have caught that first part what SAT prep is about? And then we're going to jump right into talking about what you're doing for Black History Month.
Well, SAT Prep is a standardized test. That's the normal heading that you have. Also, ACT is another part that we also touch on. But the standardized test basically is a mechanism where schools and colleges look at your overall ability to perform. There's a lot of controversy about the testing as to whether or not it truly measures whether or not a person would be successful. But believe me, the current score now is 1,600. Okay, it used to be 24. It used to be 2,400 for the SAT. So if there is any African American, other minority person, white person who can get 1,500. Believe me, they're going to get people knocking on the door to encourage them. Ivy League or whatever college you may be talking about. So this is the objective, and there are other components such as study skills, vocabulary development, all of these things that kids, young people who may not have the support at home, but even with the support at home, I've had a lot of homeschoolers come to the program from Charlotte.
Right.
They've come to Concord
Wonderful.
because they understand the value of these type of programs and mechanisms that other communities in many respects take for granted. You know, they already know they're going to spend $1,600 for the summer for this, that, and the other to make sure their kids are ready. You see, so
say that again.
they're going to pay a lot of money, and if we don't have that kind of money, it doesn't mean that we still cannot make those kind of achievements, because there are people like myself and Ms. Freelain and others in a network where we can say, okay, you can come over here and you can pay X number of dollars and you can get the same value or even more in terms of mentors and other people who can assist you.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Now I know you teach at the college level, and I think that was Rowan Cabarrus, and you do a history course. Is that how you got into the research for Warren C. Coleman, who you're going to tell us about?
Very good question. I've been teaching at the college, Rowan Cabarrus Community College, for 4 years, 4.5 years. And they asked me about 2 years ago to teach a class on African American history. I didn't really know too much about Warren C. Coleman 4 years ago. Okay. And there was a seminar at the library, and that's when I first heard about him. And again, didn't really know too much about him. But I started doing research, and as a part of my course, I started looking into his life, and I started to wonder what is happening that people don't know about this
Mm-hmm.
man. Now, there is a highway in Concord,
Uh-huh.
that's Route 601, that was renamed.
Uh-huh.
I think in the late 90s. They renamed the highway. And to me, that was the first
They renamed it
step.
after him?
After him.
Okay, because it's important to know that.
Yes, if
Okay.
you go to 601 in
Okay.
Concord, you'll see it's the Warren C. Coleman
Wow.
Highway.
Did not know
And a lot of people look at the highway and say, and this has happened recently, oh, they don't need anything else. They got the highway and that's okay. No, I'm sorry. We have a lot of history with regard to this man. And in that regard, after the research that I did,
Yes.
I recommended to the city of Concord that they have a re-proclamation. They had a
Okay,
proclamation,
let's hold that
and they have now a re-proclamation indicating that the February 1st is Warren C. Coleman Day in Concord,
Wow.
which was done before when they were doing the highway.
Okay.
But this time, this year, we're going to have a celebration on the street where
Okay.
he had his store. That's how he became a wealthy man.
Right.
He had a store on Union Street in Concord. So we're going to have a sidewalk
The downtown
store.
sidewalk sale?
Yes, on February 24th. February 24th, we're going to have a sidewalk sale with vendors. And if you know of vendors, they can get in touch with me.
Well, before we jump into the, let's
Okay.
talk a little bit more about what he did, though, and why he
Okay.
was so significant. 'Cause
Okay.
we can
Yes.
highlight the event.
I understand. And the most important thing he did is he had his store, as I said, on Union. Okay, so he was an entrepreneur.
So was it a general store? Was it a clothing store?
We're talking about the 1890s.
Okay.
So he had a lot of different things in the store. Canned
Wow.
goods, various products, rabbits. Okay, you have to think about.
Okay.
You have to think about the 1890s.
You're right.
okay?
You're right. I got to get in that
And
frame
he
of mind.
sold tar. Now
Okay.
we talk about Tar Heels.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so where does that come from? They sold tar. Okay, for wagons and various other things.
Yeah.
So he sold tar. And so I was fascinated to learn about that. So that was his beginning.
Right.
All right. Now he is biracial, which would take a long time to get into that.
Okay.
So I'm not going to deal with that right now.
That's fine. We'll claim them. We love them.
But what happened is he went from the store
Okay.
to real estate.
Uh-huh.
In Concord, he owned close to 100 homes
Okay.
that the people in the town lived in.
Yes.
Okay? And so that was part of his empire building.
Okay.
Real estate, sound familiar? He was into real estate, okay? So he did that. But he was not a man who did not give to the community.
Okay.
Like some people take, but they don't give anything back. So he gave 17 acres. He purchased 17 acres so that black people could be buried in
Okay.
Concord. It's called the Old Campground Cemetery.
Okay.
17 acres, a lot of money.
And explain why that was important for those who may not understand. the
It was
importance of
important at the time when we're talking about the 1870s, 80s, 90s. Black people could not go into the cemetery
Right.
where the white people were. It was completely segregated, okay, by law. So when you see people dying and they need to be buried, cremation was not basically in style at the time. There were
Right, that
really
wasn't an
that
option.
wasn't really going on. So he took his money and bought the 17 acres. Then he also built my church that I go to right now, which still exists. It's
Right.
called Price Memorial,
Right.
named after Joseph C. Price, the first president of Livingstone College. Okay, a lot of history. Then on top of that, he had all of these homes, close to 100,
Right.
and his own home
Right.
that he built. And on top of that,
Were these homes that he rented out, or was
yeah,
it,
they rented it out.
Okay.
The workers lived there.
Gotcha.
They were called mill homes.
Right.
Okay, a lot of the people from
now,
North
was it
Carolina.
his meal?
His mill.
Okay, so his meal. Okay.
Okay, so he now has all of what I just said.
The store.
The store, the
textile
cemetery.
mill.
Wait a minute, let me get the store, the cemetery, the church.
Okay.
All of these things he's building
Yes.
with his own money.
Yes.
Then comes the mill.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the textile mill, which is 196,000 square feet,
Right.
which is huge.
Which is even huge by today's
and
standards.
he was able to employ 300 or so black men, again, who could not go to Mr. Cannon, who could not go to Mr. Odell, who could not be employed in other ways, especially at the time. So the man is a huge person in history, and I'm here with your assistance and you're enabling me to spread the word
Yes.
and to
wow.
say to people, let us celebrate Warren C. Coleman, who was and continues to be a hidden figure in our society, and we, after 50 years of Jim Crow and various other discrimination, are starting to raise our flag. We're starting to raise our flag and say, wait a minute, there are people out here in our history that people don't know about. They don't know about it. So we have to circulate these ideas and this whole issue. And this is part of my mentoring.
Yes,
You
yes.
have to
Wonderful,
excuse me.
wonderful. No, you're,
Yeah.
you're very passionate,
Yes.
so I understand.
Yes.
So again, he was a landowner.
Yes.
He owned textile mills.
Yes, yes.
He also owned some stores.
Right.
He owned a cemetery. He was
That's
a
right.
philanthropist.
That's right.
And he was
There are many colleges, Shaw University, Barbara Scotia, Livingstone College. They all benefited from Warren C. Coleman.
okay.
If you could get, at that time, $1,000 to come into your school, that was
they probably
big.
paid for all 4 years back then.
That was big,
Uh-huh.
okay? So this is the kind of man he was. And if he wasn't that type of man, I wouldn't be, promoting him as such. I've done the research. I
Yes,
know
yes.
what type of person he was.
So he gave $1,000 scholarships. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm
Oh.
saying that in the case of Livingstone College, which used to be in Concord, a lot of people don't know that.
Okay.
Livingstone College used to be in Concord, Barbara Scotia, and there was a Lutheran College also in Concord. There were 3 colleges in Concord.
Wow.
Yeah, in Concord, 3 colleges. So the history of our people, African American people, is tremendous, and we have to do everything possible to make sure it is known, especially to our young people, our young black men and women
Okay.
who need to know, because if they know, then they won't do a lot of things that are not appropriate, not
So-
appropriate.
Yes, I would agree. I would agree. So with that, we want to conclude and just kind of remind everybody about the Warren C. Coleman celebration that will be taking place on February 24th, which is a Saturday.
Saturday
Okay.
from noon to 6
From
p.m.
noon to 6. There's also a slide that shows that. And I want to thank you again for coming on the show. I want to thank you for sharing with us the legacy, or continuing the legacy, and continuing to talk about Warren C. Coleman, who is such an important figure, not just in this area, but in terms of national and even global attention.
Well, let me just make one last point. I know we have to go. But Warren C. Coleman was, in addition, at the top of black leadership. He was closely tied to Booker T. Washington, who was the African leader after Frederick Douglass. He was close to Booker T. Washington. But
Okay.
that's
So
another...
very prominent figure.
Yeah, very prominent. And so hopefully we can have more opportunity to talk about these points.
All right. Appreciate you coming on. Thanks for watching
Thank
the
you
Encouraging
so much.
Word. Oh,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank
Thank you
you
for
so
watching
much.
the Encouraging Words show. Have a great day.